Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Frank Spencer, with my best buddies in the entire world, Coop and David. First thing on the list today, as you can tell by the title, fantasy football season is wrapping up. Okay, we'll talk about how pissed off we are about the results of last week. Two out of the three of us are at least. Um, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we're going to be gravitating a little bit more toward other sports related avenues, sort of kind of kicking it back to 1 year ago when we launched this thing. It had the aspirations of making it huge on YouTube or whatever it is. But here we are toward the end of the fantasy football league, and we thank everybody for kind of following along with us and taking our advice or not taking our advice, making fun of us, sharing us with your friends. We appreciate it. But we're coming down to the nitty gritty here at the end. And we're going to kind of run out of content to make with fantasy football, so we're going to start talking about other things. We like other sports as well, too. I'm a big baseball guy. Dave's a big baseball guy. We're all three big basketball guys. College basketball, not much of an NBA person, but we still talk about the NBA from time to time. If you look back, if you've been with us since the beginning, you look back on our old stuff, we talked about pretty much everything from NASCAR, hockey, Kentucky Derby. I think we talked about Baker Mayfield a lot. So if you are like us and don't like Baker Mayfield, then you would like our old episodes. But yeah, so we're looking for more sports topics that you guys would like to hear us talk about in future episodes. These are going to be kind of more planned out now because we're going to have to actually come up with content and have conversations planned. So we're kind of going back to our roots here in the future. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we get started into the episode, I will want to take a minute to drop our Etsy store in here. If you haven't already seen it before, I wore our hat on the show last week. The Trifecta logo hat is pretty sweet. It's the exact same hat I'm wearing now, but a different logo, different color. Get on there, order some merch. Helps us support the channel. We get a small profit of what's sold in the store. Helps us pay for everything, pay all the bills in order for us to keep doing this. So we'd appreciate the support. If you could tag us on Twitter, tag Coop and Gabe on Twitter. Tag me on Twitter as well if you know who I am. But tag us on Facebook. Show us your merch and that you're wearing it and that you are repping the brand. Trifecta Sports on Etsy. Link is in the description. So you guys all want to click on that. If you guys want to click on that, head over to the store. Buy a hat. Buy a t-shirt. Fantasy football season's wrapping up. If you're a champion, Coop's in the championship. He might want to buy himself one of those yard signs. He moved into a new house recently. He needs to let the neighborhood know that a fantasy football champion lives here, man. So head on over there to the Etsy store. Buy yourself a yard sign down here in the right-hand corner. Elections are over with, but you can still rep that sign out in the front yard. Right by the mailbox, Coop. I put it out there on the main street.
Yeah, I could get, 1,000 people a day.
Oh, easy. You could probably get 1,000 people before noon.
Yep.
But yeah, so as we're talking about things, drop some comments in the chat box. Let us know what are some things that you would like to see us talk about in future episodes. We're going to get into the show now. Christian says someone should have got Coop a new hat for Christmas.
This actually is a new hat. Last week was gray and black, fitted Zoffer. This is we got a Nike one today, so we're switching it up. The logo's the same, but why would you ever get a different one on a hat?
Yeah, well, what a good time. But fantasy football is wrapping up, okay? I want to talk about the heartbreak that I just had to go through this last week. I was playing Coop in the last game of the season, last regular season game. In our league, it's been so competitive to where we have probably 5 teams, all with the same record, all within 100 to 150 points. In our league, that's pretty slim, of being neck and neck. We had pretty much 4 teams vying for 3 playoff spots. No, actually 5 teams, I would say, vying for 2 playoff spots. So I had to win to move on, and unfortunately, I did not win. Did the probably the cardinal sin of fantasy football. I tinkered too much with my lineup. I took David Montgomery out, played Christian Watson. He was on a heater coming back from a bye week. Thought maybe I might get a jump from him. Also, Bears were playing the Eagles. So I thought, that's a pretty good switch. But it didn't work out for me. It also didn't help that my first overall pick in Jonathan Taylor shit the bed. caught one pass for 13 yards, and then out with an injury. So appreciate it, Jonathan Taylor. Hope you get better, but I'm no longer a fan of yours. So so I'm out of the playoffs. I'm actually we played this week, and I outscored every team in the playoffs except for one, and that person outscored me by less than 1 point. Same exact lineup week to week. Didn't change a thing. And started Jonathan Taylor, who didn't play because I didn't
Don't
even
matter though, Frank. Got to do it the other 14 weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, it happens. I really thought I had the best team going into the playoffs. I really did. I don't know. But Dave, what about you, buddy? How you feeling?
I'm not well. First off, Roger, I know you're watching. Screw you for making me watch football on Christmas Day. That was not fair. People were mad at me because I wouldn't stop watching the TV. But, we had fantasy semifinals on the line, and I'm sitting there just getting my face kicked in because I played the wrong guys. I did come up with an absolute foolproof, can't miss draft strategy for next year.
Yep, I got one too. We'll talk about that too.
If anybody is playing in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, or Chicago, or Green Bay in December, I'm not touching them. Devontae Adams, don't care. Stephon Diggs, you can have them. Like, the amount of guys that just were top 5 guys that I've had over my different teams that laid an egg in the most important game of the year just shows you how important it is to look at stuff like that. Where, if you're playing in sunny California,
or in a dome,
right, like your wide receivers will be good. Your running backs might not be as good. But if you're in -12 Cleveland, give me Nick Chubb. That dude's going to get the rock a lot. And that just showed if you didn't have good running backs this week, your top receivers weren't going to get you there. I mean, Devontae Adams struggled. Diggs struggled. Mike Evans has been non-existent for 2 months now. I mean, there is more than that, but it's draft strategy is so important, and I didn't have it.
Yeah, I've come up with a new draft strategy as well. It's kind of going along with Coop. Not drafting a freaking running back ever. I'm just going wide receivers all day, quarterback early. Keith, I see you, buddy. I've been a Bengals fan my whole life. I know the feeling. I'm also a Reds fan, so I'll let you, boy. Coop, let's start your bragging here. Go ahead.
No
I'm just gonna
bragging.
mute him real quick.
Yeah, you are. You're going to brag.
I did make 2 out of the 3 championships. Made it through 2 of my 3 semifinals. What I'm most excited about, though, this is kind of a storybook season here. I'm going for number 5, and back preseason, got invited or offered tickets to this Bills-Bengals game on Monday Night Football in Week 17, and it just so happens that will be the deciding game for my fantasy matchup. Joe Burrow's on the opposing team. Dawson Knox is on the opposing team. I've got Josh Allen. I've got T. Higgins. I've got Gabe Davis. So I will be in person at Bengals versus Bills Week 17, and we'll watch the fate of my season unfold before me.
Let me ask you this: are you going to? I know you're in the Coops in the Bush League with us, and we had talked about we bought a belt. Are you going to take the belt to Paycor Stadium with you this weekend?
I have to.
You're going to take a selfie photo after the game. Hopefully, we're looking for a big Bengals win. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a Bengals fan. That'd be great to. Absolutely. Hopefully, we can take a big win, big dub there on Sunday or a Monday night. Primetime game. We all know how Bengals play in primetime, so we're not going to talk about that. My Trey Hendrickson jersey is going to be locked away in a tote with my Christmas tree when I put it up tomorrow, and I'm not touching it ever again. If that truly happens, if I do that and we beat the Bills and go on a run with the number 1 seed to the Super Bowl and win it, that Henderson jersey is staying in the Christmas tree box for the rest of its life. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to be so fun watching us beat the Chiefs multiple times over and over again. Arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time already in Patrick Mahomes, and we're going to do it to another one in Josh Allen. So, big weekend of football coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Huge week of football.
I will be wearing, a Bengals shirt, but I'm rooting for offense. That's all I want to see. I want to see touchdowns.
I want a game in the 40s, both teams.
Yeah.
3-point game in the end. Let McPherson win it with his leg. Good times.
Yep. I think if both teams go off, I've got the right weapons that my offense puts up more points than the opponent. So,
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Chaz has a good team. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But
he does.
Jalen Hurts being out
hurts him a lot.
And you possibly getting Lamar back just further cements that you won that trade with Frank.
Keith, you're the second person that's made fun of Coop's hat today. And we've been on for 11 minutes and 20 seconds. That might be a record.
You got to start Gabe Davis, though.
I know. I got to get the stack for the.
You have to have them all in there.
Yeah, just play them all, dude. You never know. Oh, what a good time. Now that we got quite a few people on here watching this now, I'm going to drop this again. If you've already seen it, just blink for a couple of seconds, and then you can just pick back up where you left off. We actually have an Etsy store with our logos and things on it. The hat that you see on the store is the exact hat I'm wearing right now. Pretty stylish, but it's got the Trifecta logo and not my Creekwater logo. But hoodie, t-shirt, quarter zip, beer can koozie. If you're a fantasy football champion, there is a t-shirt. If you suck at fantasy football, there's also a t-shirt for you there as well. Good, cool, insulated mug if you're a coffee drinker. And then the coolest thing on the list to me is that yard sign. I think if Coop wins, I might buy him that yard sign. And once it gets in, I'll show it to you on stream so you guys can see what it looks like. Then you can go buy yourself one. It'd be great. It supports the channel, gives us a little bit of profit so we can pay the bills to help us pay for the programs we're using to run this stream right now. So we'd appreciate the support. Head on over. The link is in the description, Etsy.com. Just search Trifecta Sports Podcast or Trifecta Sports. Trifecta spelled with a 3 instead of an E because that was a cool idea at the time. And there's 3 of us. Not very good for search engine. It has not
been convenient.
Search engine optimization. That's a terrible idea on our part. But hey, we're rolling with it. It's fun. Baseball's on its way, Keith. That's for sure. We do a lot of baseball talk on the show. Once things start wrapping up, in terms of like winter meetings and things moving forward. While you're on here, if you guys are frequent flyers of the show, go ahead and type in the chat, interact with us, ask us some questions. If you have fantasy football questions, start, sit, whatever you want to do. Championship weekend's here, last week of the regular season before the playoffs start in real life. Ask us some fantasy football questions. And if you would like to continue to be a part of the show, drop some topics down in the chat box that you would like to see us discuss and cover in the future. Another big news. Big news out of Arizona today. One of the greatest defensive players of all time in J.J. Watt has announced his retirement after the end of the season. What are your thoughts on that, gentlemen? Not everybody at once.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
It's not surprising. I mean, he hasn't been the same guy in years. I mean, he's definitely retiring as a Texan. I don't think that's in doubt.
That would be cool to see. Let's talk about JJ. Let's talk about JJ Watt for a minute. I don't think a lot of people understand where this dude comes from. From Wisconsin. Actually, we went to Central Michigan out of high school. Played tight end at Central Michigan with a full ride scholarship. A couple years in, maybe 1 year in, I'm not sure exactly the time frame with that, but talk to his dad and be like, Dad, this isn't what I signed up for. I don't belong here. I belong at the University of Wisconsin. I want to be a Badger. So he transferred to Wisconsin as a preferred walk-on and then worked his way up, worked his tail off as a defensive lineman at this time. And then eventually he made it, as a top 10 draft pick in the NFL. And I watched something on television today that when the Houston Texans drafted him, he got booed off the stage. And he's arguably one of the best players in the Houston Texans organizational history in their short time being an organization, not including the Houston Oilers. We're not talking about that. But yeah, so that's the kind of player they got, man. Is he a future Hall of Famer? What do you guys think?
Yeah,
he's got multiple players of the year, that type of thing.
Yeah, especially in this age when winning isn't really. I don't think it's a huge qualifier. I mean, he has every accolade.
Yeah. Well, I think it just sucks that he didn't have team success during his career.
I thought he would get it in Arizona. I really did. I thought he would get it. Chad, do you care to elaborate on that? He left CMU because of the mascot?
He didn't like the Chippewas.
Was he not a Chippewa kind of guy? The Chippewas were in a Tim McGraw song.
I don't think that makes it better.
Anyway, Uncle Chris Rogers commented and says, as a Bengals fan, never thought we'd be sitting in the situation we were in. Exciting to say the least. It is exciting, honestly. I remember the times where I used to wake up on Sunday mornings. You know, if we play at 1 o'clock, we'd never get a primetime game. We hardly even played at 4:30. I would rush to get all my house chores done, go to the grocery store, come back, get the house clean, get ready for the next day for work and things like that. Then I would sit down at 1 o'clock knowing damn good and well that we were going to lose the freaking football game we're about to play. But it is good to know now I can wake up on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays and be excited for the day of football ahead, because I know that my team has a chance to win every single week in and week out. I don't know how long this is going to last, to be honest with you. You know, we've got a lot of young talent still on rookie contracts. Cincinnati's a small market, man. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep them all. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm just going to live in the moment. I'm not even looking ahead. I know that these receivers are not going to be here for very long. We're going to have one of them, and his name's Jamar Chase. The other one's going to go their separate ways. We're going to have Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and then we're going to try to fill in the rest with whatever we can get. That's what's going to happen in the future. So if you're a Bengals fan, enjoy what you're doing right now, because in the very near future, it probably won't be that way. I'm not saying you're not going to win still, but the players you know and love in prime Cincinnati fashion, they're going to be free agents eventually, and they're going to get paid a boatload of money to go elsewhere. Even guys like Tyler Boyd. One of my favorite players of all time, Tyler Boyd. The dude is a number 2 receiver, probably a number 1 receiver on a lot of teams right now. And he's chilling in the slot at number 3 behind 2 probably future Hall of Famers. So you can't blame the guy for going elsewhere, being the top priority, and getting paid.
T. Higgins to Chicago. Justin Fields will be unleashed.
There's no way. He's still going to be Justin. He's going to run for 200. T. Higgins will see 3 targets a game, and the Bears are still going to be the Bears. I don't see
Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown.
I don't see it.
I mean, he's got Mooney. He's got the Devontae Smith guy that was okay as a 1. He didn't really wow you, but you bring in a weapon like that with size, and I know that Higgins doesn't have the speed of Brown, but he can still help you downfield. He's a big play guy.
Higgins is a dude.
He's Alshon Jeffrey.
God, do you remember when Alshon Jeffrey was a fantasy dude with a capital D?
And where was he? Chicago.
That's where I would love to see
also
Higgins
in Philadelphia
go for both of those players.
I don't want to talk about it, to be honest with you. Here is a great question, and I already know the answer to it, and I think the other 2 would agree with me. Who is the number 1 fantasy football pick next year? If it's anybody other than Justin Jefferson, you're dumb.
I think you're dumb. Non-PPR.
You think I'm dumb?
Yeah.
Dave, he's the highest scoring player in the league.
In PPR,
that should be the number 1 pick.
Jefferson.
Who would you pick over him? You go pick John Taylor over him? Christian McCaffrey?
No, Austin Eckler.
Nope.
Well, I talked about this preseason. There's just something about his production, and I know I'm 100% wrong because it's happened 3 or 4 years in a row now. I just
talking about
don't
Eckler,
see
right?
I don't see how it's sustainable. And he's doing it. He's sustaining it right in front of us, but then I see him at 5'8", 180, and I just don't understand how it keeps happening.
Yeah,
So
I
I would,
love Trent Irwin, by the way, Christian. Thanks for the comment, buddy. Love him. Practice
for
squad guy.
me,
A lot of grit.
half PPR, full PPR, it's definitely Justin Jefferson. There's no debate. In standard, you might be able to talk me out of that.
Who's
But-
playing in a standard league nowadays? That's
if
no
you're in
fun.
that-
I am.
If you're in
If you're
that
not
format,
playing in every league, I think you're a loser. Got to get them all.
but if you're in that
You
format,
don't
I still don't
specialize?
think.
I would specialize. I'm specialized. I'm in one league trying to beat you guys. Didn't happen. I'm going to do it next year. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
got to
get
get
that
better at
belt.
it if you're going to specialize, Frank.
Coop, shut your mouth. I'm going to win. It's going to happen. I'm not going to get screwed up. My first round pick is not going to be bad.
Even in a non-PPR format, Eckler's value goes down because that pass catching isn't worth as much. So I still don't think he's your number one pick.
But this is what drives me nuts, though, is running backs will always go first.
No,
Maybe
not
maybe
anymore.
not in a
That's
super
over.
flex.
That is
that will
over
never
for me.
be
It's
the
over for
case.
me. It's over for me.
For us, yeah, I get what Dave's saying.
But I'm saying every single platform, ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, CBS, NFL, like all those, my guess is Austin Eckler will be 1-1 on projections. Should he be 1-1? I don't know. But he's a touchdown machine right now.
And to that point, it's because less running backs are relevant right now.
Mhm.
Right? Well,
It's a
there's been
bad year
so
for running
many,
backs.
but it's that
For the big
positional
ones,
scarcity thing. I would bet money that there are more playoff and championship teams with Josh Jacobs and Eckler on them than there are with Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson. Just because there has been more production at wide receiver across the league than there has been at running back. So
And
I get
just Stephon Diggs had 5 points last week. I mean, I'm salty.
So I get where you're coming from, but for me, I want the safe pick.
This comment right here is me, right here. That's my strategy. 0 running back for here on out, the rest of my fantasy football life. 0 RB, taking the Josh Jacobs of the worlds in the 5th, 6th round. Taking the Ken Walkers in the 5th, 6th round. I'm loading up on wide receivers.
And that's where I don't know what's going to happen this next year, though, because if you just think back on this last draft, Josh Jacobs was like a 6th rounder. Saquon was like a 3rd rounder. Like the top 5 RBs, other than like Chubb and Eckler, were not in the 1st round. It is crazy.
Yeah. So on that same kind of line of thinking that Eckler is better just because he's healthy and nobody else is Kelsey in consideration for the first overall pick because of the difference he gives you at tight end?
I think he's not 1-1 for me, but he should be a 1st rounder.
I saw an article, or someone was telling me about it, how he should be 1-1 just because of the positional advantage he gives you.
I can see that.
So
1-1, maybe not, though.
In standard PPR leagues on the year, he has scored 100 more points than the 2nd place, which is TJ Hawkinson. Kelsey is at 295. Hawkinson's at 199. So you're basically getting a 33% spot every week at that tight end position with him. A 6-point home field advantage for starting Kelsey.
Yeah, Kelsey, Weaver's right. Kelsey is an absolute cheat code. So what irks me a little bit about these big time fantasy football gurus and things like that is, what is the end all be all of fantasy football? It's week to week point production. It's not potential. You're looking at people to get you point production week to week on average and get them high in the app. Why would you not take the highest scoring people first?
Point differential.
Yeah.
Who's playing in Cleveland on December 24th when it's
that matters, out? Yes. That matters, yes. But in the first couple of rounds, you're picking the best players overall.
I'm not. I ain't doing it.
At that. Well, that's your job now because it bit you in the ass this year. Other people, like take Jacob McCoy for example. a listener of the show every week in, week out. He actually texts us questions on fantasy football week to week. Rookie, didn't know anything about it, went in, lost one game the entire regular season, made it to the playoffs. You mean
Did
to
he
tell
win his
me that
game,
he
though?
had a lot of strategy going in behind his draft? I think we overthink it too much, fellas. I think we're listening to all these outside people talking, running that mouth. Oh, John, I did that this year and it bit me in the butt, man. I listened to it.
I just didn't listen myself. I told you all Baker Mayfield is an absolute stud. Why didn't I have Baker Mayfield?
I don't think anybody had Baker Mayfield.
I was dead wrong on some people this year too. Like I was telling after that Hall of Fame game, I was like, get Josh Jacobs out of there. Don't touch him. You don't want him. And
Because
RB2,
we also thought they were going to get rid of him too. They were going to waive him.
running back 2 on the year right now.
I don't know. It was such a weird year. I mean,
this
the
is,
defending Super Bowl champs are trash.
Yeah,
We're
everybody
sitting
got
here
hurt.
talking about Baker Mayfield.
Injuries happen. And this is, that goes right along with the weirdness that we're talking about with Weaver here. He said, hold on to them rookies for longer for sure. I tried it this year. They came along week 15. You never know when they're going to hit.
But if you make the playoffs and you have them, those are league winners.
Yeah.
Those guys that go off in weeks 14 through 17. But you have to build a team around them that can get you there. That's the hard part, managing both.
Yeah, I
won't have 1-1 in our draft next year. I know that. And Kelsey's a strong consideration. Like looking at it right now, he's the 8th high scoring flex player on the year. At tight end.
And if we're playing Superflex, I mean, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, if we don't put that into existence, nobody's drafted him in the first round. They're probably he's a second round.
I
pick
don't
in
know.
most
There's
leagues.
probably some Chiefs super fan that probably.
Well, yeah, that's true. But if you didn't talk about that think about our league that we're in, us 10 guys. If you didn't put that into somebody's mind right now, that's not happening. Nobody's looking at Kelsey in the first 10 picks.
I like this question.
Everybody in our league should take Travis Kelce in the first round. Please.
Yeah.
I need quarterbacks next year. Frank, that was your fault. You just had to run your mouth that you were taking quarterback in the 3rd round.
I don't want to hear anything about quarterbacks. Quarterbacks screwed me all year long.
Yeah.
I made it so far, and my quarterbacks were Jacoby Brissett. Deshaun Watson ruined that for me. And Daniel Jones, and that's just because I got him in a trade with Lamar Jackson.
That worked out well.
It worked out well. Perfectly. But I also had Jimmy G as my 3rd. I ended the season with Daniel Jones and Mac Jones. I had to, keeping up with the Joneses on my team, making it through the end of the year because of people getting hurt and, the Browns playing Deshaun Watson like a bunch of bitches.
So let's go through top 5.
Oh, man. Before we get to that, that's a great pick. Great segue into the next segment. So stay tuned. I'm going to go back to this comment and say, oh, no, that's not it. Taking Baker in a beer pong draft all day. I think Baker and Post Malone are 1 and 2. And shortly behind them, I'm taking Dylan Davis. Shout out Dylan Davis.
Oh.
If you know, you know. Looking at some of these comments. Here's a good one. We'll get to the top 5 next year for me after this question here. Where does Kyler Murray go next year?
He ain't going nowhere.
He's probably, he's still a starter.
Yeah, he'll be a comeback guy.
French QB1.
Kingsbury's
I don't think he'll be
8 or 9, maybe.
I don't think he's going to be as bad. He started off the year with no weapons. I don't know if him and is it Cliff Kingsbury who his coach is?
Yeah,
I get him and Shanahan mixed up. I don't know that
that's
they get
just
along.
Disrespectful to Shanahan.
They look the same. But yeah, you talking about scheme wise?
Just in general.
Yeah, Shanahan's they're a talent.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Weaver said, he might miss the first 4 weeks of the season. Leanne said he's going to be in a COD tournament week 5. Hey, that would be kind of cool. I play COD all the time. Can you imagine hopping on a server and hopping in a game and Kyler Murray's there? That'd be a good time. But anyway.
I would talk so much trash.
It's like, dude, you got to sit on a shoebox to see your monitor.
I saw the Battle Ropes video. I think I sent it to you guys.
The Battle Ropes? Oh, yeah, you did? That's not funny, but it is. Let's talk about top 5 draft picks for next year. 2 weeks out of the year, Frank. Yeah. Justo knows. I play COD with Justo. So 2 weeks out of the year, Christmas break between late December, early January. That's my go-to game playing times. All right. So top 5 for next year, Coop. I'm assuming you already have a top 5 in your head.
No, I didn't. That's why I threw it to you guys, so I had time to think and feed off your answers.
Are we going positional, or are we just going straight top 5?
Let's go straight top 5.
Yeah, right, standard roster format, PPR, no super flex.
1-1 Justin Jefferson.
I would concur.
Dave don't agree.
I'm going Mahomes.
Oh, see, I like that too.
Oh, in non-super flex.
I'm looking at his points. He has 462 points right now. Justin Jefferson has 360. Country Roads take me home with the points.
That brings me to a point that I want to talk about too, is because we got into a little scuffle during our draft because I was like, man, I'm gonna take Josh Allen right here. I was in like the 4th, 5th round, or it might be.
It was the third.
The 3rd round. I was gonna say 3 or 4, and Coop was like, oh, no, don't do that. Once one quarterback comes off the board, they all come off the board. So I was like, man, I'm thinking about taking. I was talking. I don't know if I said that loud. And then Coop picks him like. I was sitting right beside you, Dave. We was eating Grippos.
Yeah. You didn't have to yell it. I heard you. I was 20 picks away.
But like, people are sleeping on like. There's only a few. There's like 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks I would do this with. There are going to be quarterbacks that give you, and that's a good point, Weaver. You can get those Mahomes points round 2 or later.
Why?
I don't know if I would risk it though. You might think I'm an idiot, and I don't really care. But the days of piling up running backs first round, hitting up wide receivers left and right later, and then waiting forever to get a quarterback, and you end up with Daniel Jones. I don't know, man. I just want consistent points. I want, 20, 30 points, regular standard PPR, week in and week out. And he's going to get it. He's going to give you that. I think, you're not going to get Justin Jefferson points every week, but from any other wide receiver. But there are other guys out there that are neck and neck.
Yeah, but like that's my thing.
That's what I agree with. I agree with you, Dave. That's what I'm saying.
I'm hanging the hat on. Justin Jefferson has had off weeks. He has had bad games. He has games where they just double him, and Kirk Cousins can't get him the ball. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they get the ball every snap, whether they hand it off or they throw it. Like, they are 2 athletic guys that will go and get you fantasy points. They might have a bad game, and they might get you 15 points. That's pretty good for a bad game. We're talking about over half the other quarterbacks in the league. If they get you 15, you're pretty happy. So I'm taking the points. Personally, I'm going, if Mahomes or Allen are there at 1-1, I'm taking them.
Well, they're going to be there 1-1, Dave. I'm not going to lie to you. They're going to be there.
I thought about that as soon as I said it.
I wouldn't take a quarterback first overall, but I think the time of waiting for Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, maybe Jalen Hurts in the conversation as well. I think waiting until 3 to get those guys is dumb. After those 4, you can wait for dogs' ages and still get a quality quarterback, and you can load up on these other guys. But I don't think those 4. I say maybe just 2. Those 2 at the top are going to be the guys that should be drafted maybe in the 1st or in the 2nd. And I think the media that you listen to in terms of, fantasy football and things like that, they ingrain it into your head that it's not a good idea to take a quarterback first within your first 2 or 3 picks. simply because of the fact that that's not what's normally happening and running backs are at a premium. I think you can't win with a below 15 quarterback, ranked 15. You got to have one of them up there. Top 10, top 5.
You don't want it. No, see, this is the drop off. So we're looking at the top 4 guys over 400 points. Then you drop down. I mean, number 10 is at 315 points. That's 85. That's over 85 point difference in those top 4 guys. So
what kind of format are you looking at?
I'm in my PPR league.
Huh.
It's standard PPR.
Gotcha.
So, that's where I'm saying, give me a quarterback. Give me one of those. Give me probably Allen or Mahomes at 1.
Dave, since you're on the topic and you're on to get that screen pulled up, answer Weaver's question here. QB2, who is QB1, who is QB2? Rank the top 5.
Mahomes has 462. Allen has 441. Hurts has 428. Burrow has 426. Geno Smith is 5th at 353.
Go Geno.
So that's what I'm saying. There is outside of those top 4, like if you get one of those 4, you have a huge positional advantage, which I have not had this year.
And if you're in a super flex, this makes even more sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, super flex, no question. Quarterback need to be the first. They are 101. In a standard league, I don't agree, because you look at points per game. The one I'm looking at has Justin Fields at 5 and Trevor Lawrence at 6. Both those guys were drafted outside the top 10 quarterbacks. I can go Kelsey in the first round, get my positional advantage, pick up both of those guys late in the draft at rounds 10 and 11. And I didn't have to invest that earlier on draft capital, and I've still made up my point differential from taking Josh Allen over Justin Jefferson.
Well, I agree, but it also, where you're picking changes everything.
That's true. Mm-hmm. If you have the first overall pick, it's Justin Jefferson. If you don't pick Justin Jefferson, the number 2 guy is like, hell yeah.
I don't know. I still think if I am...
I hope you get the first pick next year. I hope you get the first pick.
But if
you're going to pick Justin Jefferson.
No, I'm not.
Super flex.
Hey, David, I want you to say it right now.
Frank, we are in a super flex league. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes 1-1.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is if I am sitting at 1-1 and it's a snake draft, that means I have pick number 1 and pick number
21.
23. Well, what are we, 10?
We have 10.
Yeah, so I'll be pick number 21. I think in that situation, I want the guaranteed points because I know I'm not going to pick again. I can go get, next year Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley will be back in the top 10 rankings next year, but
I think so too.
Saquon was the 3rd rounder, late second, early 3rd last year. There is value out there that Mahomes might not be there at 21.
Yeah, he won't be in our league for sure. Not a lot of people play like we do, though. I'd say most people are they're standard, like standard roster sizes, regular PPR. We're talking about the majority of people. We're talking like the people that mess with super flexes and mess with like scoring and double PPR and roster sizes. They're like the 1% of fantasy football teams. Right? Like, not a lot of people, first of all, not a lot of commissioners even want to mess with that type of thing because they don't take it as serious as we do. But we know these things because we hang out with each other constantly and we're the ones doing it. And
we formed a committee to make these decisions.
Yeah, it's the 3 of us. But like a lot of the people that may watch this video are not going to be in our type of situation. So therefore, Justin Jefferson collectively across leagues, with the small percentage of people being super flex, PPR, double PPR like we are, he's no overall consensus should be number 1 in majority of leagues. I would say 95% of leagues he should be 1-1.
PPR and half PPR. Standards, he's not.
I agree with that.
All right, so we have the first pick out of the way. That took about 25 minutes, but
Yeah, Mahomes.
Good comment here. All I know is y'all need to kick somebody out of your league and start listening. Like, we could throw you in there. Then we got to find another one that we like.
I've got one queued up.
Who?
Former league member that's asked to come back in.
Jimmy?
We'll deal with that off.
Is it Jimmy?
We'll deal with that off air.
Is it Jimmy?
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
Former league member.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think
Oh.
wide receiver, Tyreek Hill has been amazing.
That was Weaver's comment twice. I was getting to it.
I didn't even see him.
He's
He's in the conversation.
Weaver got impatient with me. It was about 4 comments up with all his disagreements and my takes. It's okay. That's why we're on the internet. I love it, though. It's fun. Tyreek Hill at number 2. I don't hate it at all. Notice we're not talking about running backs yet because that has faded out. The game is moving on in a different direction. Dave's going to pick like freaking Carson Palmer or something.
Well, do I get like 07 Carson Palmer? So I don't care if he loses his playoff game. I just want him throwing bombs at Ocho Cinco.
I still don't forgive Vontaze Burfict.
I don't know. I like Tyreek, phenomenal. But the question is, what's going to happen with Tua? Now in concussion protocol for the 3rd time this year?
Is that if they move on from Tua, is that a downgrade for Hill?
Depends on who you get.
Obviously, yeah, but I mean, a Geno Smith who's going to be a free agent.
No, that's not a downgrade.
I don't know.
If Geno
can go to Miami and do the same thing Tua's doing.
Well, I mean, if they get anybody, it'd be Tom Brady.
Josh says we should draft Hingle McCrinkleberry 2nd overall.
I don't know.
But I mean, that's a good thing. We'll know more in the offseason if he's healthy, what's going on.
I'm confident with going JJ and Tyreek Hill 1 and 2 in my mock draft.
Yeah, right now, as of today, Tyreek Hill is probably my 2nd receiver. So I mean,
I would. Eckler's a good. Eckler's an okay choice there too. I still think those 3 probably should be first 3 picks in the majority of leagues.
And I'm gonna round out my top 5.
Okay, go ahead and do your top 5.
After that, I got Breece Hall, Travis Kelce.
Breece Hall. You think he's going to be that high, Coop?
I think if he hadn't got hurt this year, we would be having a conversation about.
But is
Breece
it somebody
that for sure 101?
Really?
I really do. If he hadn't got hurt,
I don't know, man.
I mean,
I think he's a top 2 round pick for sure. Especially if they find a quarterback worth a crap. If they go, hang out with Mike White, that's great. But Zach,
as long as his recovery goes okay, he's a for sure first rounder.
I think he's a new Najee.
Oh, the new Najee is that
I'm not like. I mean, their situations are so similar. Other than Najee hasn't gotten hurt, but they have a bad quarterback.
Kenny Pickett's not that bad. Kenny Pickett's going to get better.
Okay, I'll give you that. But he had Big Ben, and he had Trubisky, who didn't pan out, and Kenny Pickett's still a rookie. And, their usage rate is phenomenal. And so that's just where, but they're both kind of on bad teams. I mean, the Jets were hot and early, and they've really cooled off. But, I mean, Breece Hall is no doubt our first rounder next year. Don't get me wrong. But as a Najee fantasy owner, it was really disappointing this year when I had to get him late in the first because all of the running backs were gone and he was the only one left. I mean, he gets the usage, but it's not a first round value.
The biggest difference was that, and I know he's coming off an ACL and Najee wasn't, but he was efficient with his usage. And even last year, Najee wasn't. He just got so much. We talked about that preseason. There was only like one other running back within 100 touches of Najee Harris. So I think that Brees Hall is already set up. He's already proved he's more efficient. And if he can get that volume again, it's insane. And anything other than Zach Wilson, and that is a good football team.
That's a
But
great
he has
football team.
destroyed them.
It's a playoff team. Hands down.
I told you
playoff
guys, I said this before that he's below Baker Mayfield for me, firmly, and has been for a long time.
How far? Are we talking like Deshaun Watson, Mashaw's firm, or?
So who do you guys have rounding out your top 5?
All right, so my top 3 was I'm gonna save Days for last because it's gonna be interesting. I said JJ, Tyreek Hill, and then Eckler 1, 2, 3. I think Travis Kelce, and then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put Patrick Mahomes in the top 5.
Is CMC a Niner next year? Or is his contract over? Or does he have an opt-out?
Know.
Who would have thought we'd be living in a world where Christian McCaffrey is not going to be the top 2 pick? If he wasn't with the Niners, I think he would be a top 2 pick in most leagues, I think.
He's still performing with them.
He's
still a stud.
He's a stud.
His value's better with the 49ers than it is with any other team because they are so run heavy, even with Elijah Mitchell healthy.
My problem with the 49ers is, Devontae Adams. He's a top 5 talent. Is he going to be a top 5 pick? I don't know. I can see Diggs being in there. Diggs is good. He could go in the top 5 in most drafts. The thing about for me with the 49ers is the way they're set up. They have a lot of stars. They have a lot of young stars. They got, a great coach, great defense. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense. My problem with them is who the heck is going to be the quarterback? Because it seems like Brock Purdy is in the hearts of all the players.
He's putting up identical numbers. Have you seen the grades side by side?
Like for him and Trey Lance? Or him and Garoppolo?
No, for him and Garoppolo. Like their
Garoppolo's gone. We all know Garoppolo's going to be playing. He's going to be wearing a different color next year. He's probably going to be in friggin' Carolina or something, or Dallas.
McCaffrey has 3 years. 3 years left.
3 years on that contract. Okay, so we're looking at Trey Lance probably coming back and being the starter. I'm not a Trey Lance believer. I don't know why. It's just something that just until I see him do it, I don't trust him. I'm not drafting him. A lot of people were high on him. That's what happens. I mean, it's a shame he got hurt because I kind of wanted to see what he could do. That's exactly what I'm getting to, Weaver. He's like, there's too many mouths to feed for anyone to get that Justin Jefferson, that Austin Eckler type of volume. You might get one game, every 3 games with, Debo going off or McCaffrey going off or even Trey Lance or whoever's playing quarterback going off. Early on in the draft, you're looking for people that's going to give you those types of points every week or projected that kind of points every week. There's so many fantasy points you can get in a football game. So if you're looking for, who is drafted first next year, Higgins or Chase, I think it's Chase.
Yeah, I agree. I think when Higgins is healthy,
I think they're both they're there together though. They could be in the first round, not the first round, but the same round together. Like if they fall to the second, then they both could be drafted in the second. They can be picked within 10 picks of each other. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, on McCaffrey, real quick before we move on, he has went like 32 or 33 consecutive non-injured games with 100 yards or a touchdown. Like that's a high floor that you want. It's just
it's the history, dude.
It's 3 seasons for those 30 games.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind. And now people are going to start talking about Jonathan Taylor in the same fashion. Running backs have a short lifespan in the NFL. Short.
I don't know. I kind of feel like that Jonathan Taylor deal was I mean, he might be. Every running back's banked up. I mean, they're in the NFL. How much of that is, all right, we're terrible. He's a stud.
But I drafted
Franchise
him
guy.
1-1, Dave. I need him to play.
Hey, I don't.
He's
you
got to
drafted him.
understand these types of things. This is people's
I-
livelihoods.
Yeah, but they're tanking.
I need that $140.
But
I don't know.
You can
I'm just
can flip
playing.
that
That's
two
not
ways.
who I am. I'm not that kind of person.
You can
All
say
the time.
Taylor's to McCaffrey. We're worried about his leg injury, or you can say Taylor's to Saquon, who's going to come back and look like he was never injured.
I hope that happens. I really do.
I think that's my hope for Brees Hall.
And
The league is good with good players not getting hurt. We have more things to talk about.
well,
Guys like us can enjoy it.
That's why we're seeing all these penalties now, though, where all this player safety stuff. They're trying to,
Good question, Jake.
but we'll see.
We're forgetting about Cooper Kupp, guys.
No, we're not.
No, I didn't
I
forget
forgot-
about him.
I didn't even think about him in my top 5. Didn't even think about him.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, he was good with Goff. I mean, we're talking Matt Stafford. I think could retire this year. What is he playing
Oh.
for? I mean,
When
I
he
don't
gets
know.
everybody healthy.
he doesn't have an
Yeah,
offensive
I agree
line.
with that, Weaver. I agree with that, Weaver. I don't know if these guys do, but I agree with that. We'll pop it up here.
He probably will be, and maybe he should be. But I like the Belichick approach in those fantasy players that are 32 and 33. I'd rather be a year too early on them than a year too late. So I'm probably just going to kind of watch Cooper Kupp go by unless he's some great value at the end of the second round. I have a hard time spending a first rounder on him.
I have a keeper league where we keep one and you get him in the round you drafted him in. I have Cup in the 4th. I don't know if I'm going to keep him. I mean, I think I might have better value out there on my team, but I don't know if Cup is top 5 wide receiver next year with all these young guys that have really came on late.
Weaver is the king of podcasts, apparently, because he listens to Matt Stafford's wife's podcast. Shout out Weaver with the inside information from Matthew Stafford's wife.
That's just doing your research.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. Weaver needs to be in the league. We need to figure out a 12th. That'd be hard. The way we run things, having 12 people. Can you imagine with the drop? We'd have to limit roster sizes for sure.
No,
Coop.
No.
There will be no
I was-
quarterbacks left.
I love the chaos.
No, I
I
don't.
want Isaiah. We'll make it super flex instead of 2 quarterback. That
Yeah,
helps a lot.
That's
But-
changes happening the day after the championship's over.
Yeah.
Next
I
Tuesday.
want Isaiah Hodgins in starting lineups for the playoffs. I don't
Hey.
want him sitting on the waiver wire.
I like it. Chaos.
Such bullshit, dude. Such bullshit. I do not agree with this. All right, Dave, let's round out your top 5.
Yeah, it's actually not that crazy. I'm going Mahomes and Allen, 1 and 2. I think their point differential, you just can't pass it up. Give me Jefferson and Hill 3 and 4. Give me Eckler 5th. And there we go.
Okay.
So,
There you have it. From 2 guys that are in 18 leagues and 0 championship games. Quarterbacks go early.
Never done it before.
that's
true.
probably why I've not won a freaking championship yet. I've won 1 fantasy football championship. That was a couple years ago. Wasn't in our league, different league. Dave, I believe this is for you or Coop.
No, I said that.
I need to know how you don't want to be a year late on Cup, but okay with Kelsey.
The difference is our Mahomes over Stafford. Those are 2 massive factors. And even when Cup was healthy this year, he was wide receiver 2. Kelsey's got a 6-point per game advantage over that number 2 tight end.
And I don't think the Chiefs have a surefire number 1 guy other than Kelsey. Like, they don't have receivers that they don't have a Tyreek Hill that is going to ball out constantly.
They don't need that though.
They don't need it, and that's true. They don't. But I'm staying away from Chiefs receivers. It's kind of like the old.
Don't need to be good so bad.
Oh, I think everybody does because he looks like the dollar store Alvin Kamara. Does that make sense? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen that meme.
I just made that up. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
that's my observation.
Man, the 3 plays that he's in a game, I'm just like, wow, they got to get that guy the ball, but there's something there.
He played for Florida. I don't have very high hopes on those guys from Florida. They just don't pan out, man. I'm telling you.
Percy Harvin, also from Florida, right?
Yeah, he had a great career. It was short, but it was okay.
Dameon Pierce is having a hell of a rookie year.
They didn't use him,
Dave.
But when they did,
a career is more than 1 year.
Yeah, but he had a really good rookie year.
So hell, Tim Tebow took a team to the playoffs. Look where he's at.
He should be in the league.
I don't disagree with that. He shouldn't be in the league now, but he should have never left the league when he did.
He won a playoff game.
So consensus, we have 3 guys that should be in your top 5 next year, and we're split on the rest of them. We got Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Eckler in all 3 of our top 5s. Different places.
But they're top 5 draft picks in leagues.
Yeah. And yes. Everything's always up for debate. Are you drafting with guys that go straight by projections and rankings? It all just depends.
People don't. Here's the thing about fantasy football is there's a lot of people that don't think the way we think. Even on an individual basis, we all think differently. All 3 of us. There's certain things we can agree on. But let me give you an example. I was eating at Shamrock's back before the season started. There was a group of guys out there, and they were having their live fantasy draft. They had a big thing on the wall. They had their stickers. They were legit. They had a guy on the phone, just like everybody's got that guy that's on the phone making draft picks.
There's always one.
There's always that guy, right? It would be so funny if one of those guys actually found this video and they heard me talking about him. But I was over there drinking my beer, eating my Irish nachos. If you know anything about Shamrock's Irish nachos, they're the shit. So me and my brother-in-law Logan were just like looking at their draft, and we watched like 10 rounds of their draft over there. And these guys would be making like Jamar Chase number 2 overall, and I would just look at Logan and I'd be like, "Are you watching this right now? Like this is happening." But that's the kind of stuff that happens in fantasy football leagues that we don't know about.
Yep. Like
these guys are getting like, for instance, they would get like a Jonathan Taylor like 7th or 8th overall. That's the kind of stuff that's happening there. And you got these kids like middle school kids or high school kids that have majority of their leagues where nobody has any clue what's going on, and they're just picking who they like. My wife is in a league, and one of the players who ended up being one of the better teams missed out on the playoffs, but was taking the roster in order, drafting those players. So they drafted a quarterback first, running back, wide receiver, flex, kicker, defense, then filled out their bench.
That's the biggest. That's where we really need to help new people to fantasy football with the kicker and the defense. I know it's a mid-round pick, but we've really got to make sure they can't do that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, but that team had Lamar Jackson, so he was carrying him a long way, and they were being success. There were like injuries killed that team, but that would have been a playoff team, and that's how they drafted that team.
Well, that's every team. I would have won a playoff game. I would have won a playoff game if Jonathan Taylor wasn't hurt.
I probably would have been in the playoffs too, and I'd be in the championship if he didn't get hurt.
So injury.
I'd have beat Coop's ass.
You have to take injuries out of it.
I'd have beat Coop by 100.
Yeah, they suck. Yeah. Injuries suck, but you can't factor that into your draft.
You can't, no.
Unless you have a guy that's just injury prone. You get those tags on a guy, yeah. But like other than that, like you got to go with what you're going to go, or you trade them. Like
Is T. Higgins injury prone at this point?
No. Did he go on IR this year?
No, but he had like 2. I'm healthy and then I'm not going to play, which is worse than going on IR.
I agree with that because then you're going to put him in your lineup because you can't stash him.
I mean, how many games?
That's exactly what. I swear, Coop. You and Weaver should run a team together. I think you guys would dominate because you have this. You're on the same wavelength, same brain like stream. Have y'all ever done that before? Have y'all ever played a league where like you and a co-partner have run the team together? I don't know that I could do that.
I've never co-managed.
Oh, it's great.
I know a couple guys that do. Dave is in every. Dave, are you in a fantasy hockey league? I know you are.
I didn't do hockey this year.
This year he did, but he's done it before. Dave's into everything. He's in beer darts. How's that going, by the way?
I'm cold, boys. I'm cold. I was 3rd in the league in hits. And I've just had 2 bad weeks. I had to go for a walk last week just to get the vibes up. And it's been
Did
tough.
you go walk around in the bathroom or something?
Hell yeah.
Do you have like a dart case? Do you like walk in? You know, like some of those guys in the bowling alley, you just sit it down.
Do you bring your own ball?
No, dude. This thing's awesome. I mean, it's like a 6x6 board that like it's in a baseball diamond, and I mean the dart's like it's huge.
It's like a yard dart.
No, it's like
It's not like a regular dart.
No, it's like 3 times the size of a normal dart, and you're standing like 45 feet away, throwing this thing overhand.
Like remember when we threw axes at your bachelor party, Dave?
Yeah, it's just like that, except it's like a oversized dart.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie.
It's amazing. It's really fun. Y'all should come to Quincy sometime and just.
It sounds like a
hang
business
out.
idea, Coop.
I'm not allowed to pursue business ideas anymore.
Is that at the wife's discretion?
That was a mutual decision we've made.
Is this dating back to the monument company?
No, we're still in business.
Have you sold any monuments?
Not recently.
Ain't nobody died. We're good. That's the one. That's the one terrible thing about having like a monument business or a funeral home is like when you're doing well, a lot of other people are not doing good, which sucks, man. How do you feel good about making all that money, knowing that people died for that?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking it.
I was like, I don't know. I'm not into business anymore. We've been nomads. We haven't had a.
That's true. You have traveled 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
With luggage. But anyway, we got some questions on the board before we wrap up. Does Wandale come back at a decent flex option next year? My heart says yes. My head says I don't know.
I think the usage that these receivers are getting in New York is really encouraging lately. I mean, they've had a lot of guys that have been relevant in spurts. So he definitely could be, but it could also be Darius Slayton. It could also be
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard, maybe. And who's the guy that's went off the last couple of weeks? Is it Hodgins? I just said his name.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's going to be good in New York, and I think he's got just as good a shot as anybody, but I need more info in what they do in the draft and free agent market. Richie James, another one I think, has had some decent games.
Could have been Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, who's his quarterback next year?
It's
still Daniel Jones, for sure.
You think so? His contract, he has a 5th-year option next year.
That's why I can't wait for the NFL draft because that's going
to
answer
answer a lot of questions. Picked it up yet.
Was he the same draft as Mayfield and?
Yeah. Watson and
who's the other guy in Carolina?
Darnold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at me answering a question.
So that option should have been decided before this season. They've already picked it up or they haven't.
Sports Track doesn't show it as being picked up unless I'm reading that wrong.
Yeah, that's a game changer, Dave.
What a good time.
So
I think a contract expert. Weaver, if you want to contract in for some contract knowledge for us, we could just go to you.
Learned a lot on today, but the coaching matters, fellas. As far as people are concerned in terms of the NFL, I used to have this. Maybe not so much the NFL, like NBA, for example. I don't think coaching has a lot to do with the NBA. I think schemes and things like that they do happen. Same thing with managing an MLB team. If you got dudes, your job's easy. The NFL is different. Coaching absolutely 100% matters. I think you can win in it. You can win in the NBA. You're not going to win championships or anything like that, but you can have solid seasons. You can make playoffs with mediocre coaches. Because you have like 15 guys on a team, and the majority of them are in the top of their game or in their prime. You can give LeBron a shitty coach and a decent staff or decent crew of people, and he's going to win. Dave, you could coach the Lakers if he had better players on the team.
Well, I mean, LeBron's going to coach.
That's what I'm saying.
LeBron's the coach anyway. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I disagree with that, though, because the Lakers are shit.
They don't have good players.
That's not true.
They don't have players that work well together.
Exactly.
That's where coaching can come in.
GM LeBron took over. No,
GM.
GM.
I disagree with your take there, Frank. I think.
How dare you disagree with me, Dave?
That's
not what we're here to do.
It's what we do. But you have to have a good coach. A good coach is make or break in any sport.
I think you have to know what you're doing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that go into being a good coach. You have to build relationships. You have to have PR. You have to actually know you have to know X's and O's. You have to do all that stuff. But not every coach is good at all things. The ones that are good at all things are the ones that win championships. Except for your Bill Belichick. He's not a good PR guy.
But he had Tom Brady. PR guy. He's must listen to TV. I mean, he always gets. I don't know. I just think
Tom Brady's a good player.
Phil Jackson, good coach.
Yeah.
How do you say he's not?
Did he win the championships, or did Jordan give him 6 and Kobe give him 4?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Don't get me wrong. That has a ton. That's probably 50% of the battle.
If he coaches,
the problem is he has to deal with. Could any coach deal with Dennis Rodman? Could any coach deal with
those guys? He kept those guys together.
What coach would let Dennis Rodman go to Las Vegas for 48 hours, not even practice with the team, and come back and be okay with that?
He was with Carmen Electra, man. Leave him alone.
I don't blame the guy. I don't blame Dennis Rodman at all. But as a coach, you think about that.
I don't blame Dennis Rodman at all. That was good.
But if you're Phil Jackson, how do you what do you do? How do you handle that situation? You're one of your best players. You're starting 4. Coach, I'm gonna go to Vegas for 48 hours. I'll be back. Just takes his bags and goes. And then comes back.
Babysitting is a part of coaching.
I don't think he came back.
Babysitting is part of the coaching responsibilities. Yeah. You have to be able to do it.
Don't even get me started.
I was just going to run through some. I mean, I agree 100%. I think he was a great coach, but he's one that you could easily say he had 2 of the 3 greatest basketball players of all time under him for his championships. Did they win it or did he? I agree.
People sleep on Shaq as one of the greatest of all time.
I said 2 out of 3.
We had Shaq and Kobe. He had Kobe and Michael. That's 2 out of 3.
Well, in your opinion,
Shaq's not top 3, but he's probably top 7.
Popovich, great coach.
Yes.
Spoelstra.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Brad Stevens.
No. Absolutely. He done it at 2 levels.
I'm with Dave.
You don't think Brad Stevens is a good coach?
Got lucky.
I think Brad Stevens is a great college coach.
That's what I'm saying. He done it at 2 levels. College and NBA are totally different things.
He didn't have the player management, like you were just talking about. He didn't have that X factor.
That's
through the
that's
NBA.
part of it. There's an equation to being a coach at
He
different
would have
levels.
freaked out if Dennis Rodman went to Vegas.
That's what I'm saying. PR is half of it. That's a lot. That's part of the equation. That's why there hasn't been very many college coaches and NBA coaches. Ty Lue. There hasn't been anybody that has been able to cross it over and do good at both levels for a long period of time. Billy Donovan, great college coach, sort of mediocre at the NBA level. You don't even know what team he's coaching for nowadays. You see what I'm saying? Who's done it? Who's done both and succeeded? Brad Stevens, in my opinion, is probably the best one that's done both.
To me, I mean, succeeding at both is championship, right? I mean, he was great at what he did, and he moved into a front office to manage a team and player personnel and development because that's where he excelled.
Chad thought something was funny.
Probably you saying I don't blame Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I watched Good Burger as a kid. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know.
Anyway, we have some actual fantasy football questions up here, guys.
Okay.
Still holding strong on the audience. I appreciate you guys following along with our rants. We're an hour and 11 minutes in. Probably should wrap it up here soon. But these guys got families. And by these guys, I mean all of us have families to get back to. My kids hopefully are asleep, but I have no idea. College basketball coaching does matter. We've talked about that. This is coming from a UK fan. We had
Next topic.
Me and Coop had that conversation last week. Go watch the live from last week. We did have a segment, probably about 30 minutes, where we talked about college basketball. More specifically, we talked about John Calipari. So if you want to go back and watch that live, you can. It is on our YouTube page. Just click on videos, click on live, and then it's the last one, other than this one. Is Justin Fields a top 5 quarterback next year?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
I have him at 5, but yes.
I think it's
I can see somebody like Trevor Lawrence being above him.
I think it depends. Do they go get a T. Higgins?
That's what we
said.
We said if they acquire a receiver, that's a difference maker. I agree with that.
And get me an offensive lineman at number 2 overall. And then I think if he can be out there consistently, he might be there.
1,011 yards on the ground for Justin Fields.
That's a difference maker. But if he has a receiver, he ain't going to do that. Mondo Burger was the biggest scam in the world, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. What was the dude's name? Do you guys remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It seems like a Chad.
Dude, that was like 15 years ago.
I watch it all the time. Y'all don't watch Good Burger? Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger Kentucky water.
The Giants did decline Daniel Jones' 5th-year option.
So he's going to be a free agent?
Well, I mean, they could always sign him back, but yeah.
So a restructured deal you're talking?
No, he'd have to have a new deal.
That's a restructured deal, Dave.
Restructured means they're restructuring his current one.
Which is a new deal.
They're just going to structure a new deal.
That's words, Dave.
You're a teacher.
They're synonyms. Restructuring and new is very eerily similar.
This is a great question.
There's going to be the same stuff in both. So.
Restructure is taking something already there and like just.
You mean to tell me that they don't have templates out there for contracts, David? They're going to start with a Word document and just start typing from the word Daniel blah 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 Jones. No, they have a template for that shit. It's already there. It's restructured.
I mean, maybe Daniel Jones is into some weird shit and he wants like 100 Pikachus in his hotel room before every game. Like that's not on some template.
Or non-disclosure agreements already made out for local therapists that may be needed.
Yeah.
Kurt's his name. Appreciate it, Weaver. Appreciate it. I thought it was
Calvin
Chad.
Ridley, wide receiver 1 next year. Could be.
Wait, did you guys see? There was a coach that got.
Where did he go? Did he go to Carolina?
Jacksonville.
No, Jacksonville.
I was close. Both teams suck. Historically. I know.
I don't know.
Jacksonville stout.
That Jacksonville room has quickly gotten crowded. I mean, Marvin Jones Jr. is old, but he's still, I feel
He's
like,
stud.
a relevant
And dude has
option.
pops for days. Like he could sing anything under the moon. Y'all heard him sing? Y'all seen them videos of him singing?
Can't
have
say that I
not.
looked that up.
It's good stuff, dude. Dude can sing. Just letting you know. On today's episode of Trifecta Sports Podcast, fun fact: Marvin Jones Jr. can sing.
That's why
I
Frank
think-
doesn't win championships.
I'm gonna be honest. Shut up, Dave. I'll be honest with you. That had nothing to do with my top 5 because I didn't think about it. I was just thinking about his current, production and his growth as a player overall. Coaching has a lot to do with that as well. Have you seen the video of that guy? I was like, dude, can you imagine like Trevor Lawrence had to play for Urban Meyer for a year? Like, why would you wish that upon anybody? And he's like, I would go to a war with Doug Peterson. I would die for Doug Peterson. That's the kind of coach they got right now. That makes a difference.
Yeah,
Especially
he's
in a guy
so
like Trevor
developed
Lawrence.
quarterback.
So coaching matters.
It does in the NFL. I said that. I wish I could punch your face, Dave.
I could see him
I'm
being
gonna
fringe
say-
top 10.
Yeah,
I'm
Trevor
going to
Lawrence.
say yes. No, Calvin
Calvin
Ridley
Ridley.
as wide receiver 1. I'm trying to answer the questions, guys, and get through this thing.
I don't think he is.
Christian Kirk's wide receiver 14 on the year, and I think Ridley is better
He's a better talent.
in that offense. And as a number 1, would get
And
more
Zay
volume
Jones is
than
balled
Kirk
out too.
has.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, is he going to be listed on the first in the depth chart? Maybe, but I don't think he's a top performer there, especially if Evan Ingram stays. I think he's only on a 1-year deal.
I'm drafting him first round. Hell with it.
Evan Ingram.
Ridley or Ingram?
Ridley. I picked up
I thought
Ingram,
he
didn't
did.
play him, bit me in the ass. Not very happy.
I see what's happening here. I've been missing this. Yeah, I think Ridley could be top 10. I think you look at a Miami situation where we were both lower on Waddle and Hill because we didn't think they could get it done. They've got
That was a mistake.
That was more of a. I feel like that was more of a knock on Tua, though. Like, he had never really performed.
This is a
We didn't
Coop
know what he was
question,
going
by
to do. I don't know.
Is Tom Brady
I
going to be in
don't know.
Tampa Bay next year?
No, he's in Miami, bro.
Are we dying
I
on
have
that hill
not-
as a group? Are we dying on that hill? Is he going to be Miami's quarterback next year? Is he going to be throwing to Waddle and Tyreek Hill?
I think all of his
How fun would
plans
that
have
be, though?
not- For the first time in his life, Tom Brady is not on top of the world over the past 4 months.
No, dude's had it rough.
And I don't think he knows what's going to happen because he had it all laid out. He won his championships in New England.
Had a
He came to
wife.
Tampa and won one. He's like, hey, I'll just build a mansion and start buying the Miami Dolphins while I'm still playing for other teams. And that didn't work out. And that's where the downfall started. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Tampa could be done,
I think Tampa's done.
but I don't see him going to Miami after what happened.
I can see that too. McDaniels is awesome. I love the dude. Have you
So Jimmy G to the Dolphins?
Jimmy G to the Buccaneers?
No, because the Dolphins are just the 49ers 2.0. I mean, we got Mostert, we got Jeff Wilson Jr., we got McDaniels. I mean, bring in Jimmy G. All he's got to do is hit Waddle and Tyreek on a slant, and they're going to take it to the house for him.
You can screen all day with that team. You can do middle screens. You can do tight end screens with Kaseki. You can just throw it out to the flat, let somebody work.
I think Tua's back if he's not forced to retire. I don't think it's a we'll move on from Tua's situation. It's it's safe for Tua to be back on a football field.
That's a question that I saw brought up on Twitter the other day. Should there be a limit in terms of how many times you can go into concussion protocol without being shut down for the year or
I think there
diagnosed
is.
or diagnosed
I
with a
think-
concussion?
Each time there's additional steps to get back.
Yeah, but like once you read, like, let's say you have 3 concussions on the year or 4 concussions on the year. I know you're out probably 4 or 5 games out of that, but there's 17 games in a year. Like once you hit that 4 mark, like they just shut you down for the year. Whether that be week 10, week 11, and just say, hey, you're not playing anymore the rest of the year. Do you think we're getting to that point?
If it's not already in place, then yeah.
I don't know that it's there. That's why people were talking about it now. It's like that's not set in stone. Like that's not in a rule book anywhere. The NFLPA hasn't decided on that, and they're getting to the point where that's being talked about amongst people like us.
Yeah,
So,
you hit 4 in a year, you probably need to.
I think it's 3.
Y'all are making me sad. Can we stop talking about this? Tua just screwed me. He screwed me.
I watched a little documentary today about Tua. It's kind of sad. I mean, he came out of college with a hip injury. Dude's been roughed up. He's had it hard.
Well, yeah, he's small.
He's talented, though. I'll give him that. Weaver says, let them play. They know the risk. If I get multiple concussions at work, I still got to work. I don't know about all that, dude. As a fan, yeah. Hell, let them play. But think about as you think. Let's say this. Let's say you're 12 years old, and your dad is in the NFL, and he's playing week in, week out, coming home. Concussion this.
Dave's not going to make it through this.
Concussion this, concussion that, and all of a sudden you're 25 and your dad doesn't remember your name anymore.
So, why are we still playing with helmets?
I played rugby. If you take the helmet out, guess what? You're not going to use your head. It's impossible. You will not use your head to hit people.
All preseason, they played with the pillows on their heads.
I agree with that, Dave.
Why are we not using them? Well, you all saw the hit. What was it last night?
Go back to some. Go.
Derwin
Put those.
James
Listen.
Just destroyed.
Yeah, that was last night.
One of the Colts guys. It's like, just put a pillow on their head. Clearly you can't teach them how to tackle because they're just going to go to light them up every time. But if you
take the helmet out, put the scrum cap on. That's what they're called in rugby. You put the scrum cap. It would be a better.
This is a pointless conversation right now.
It'll be a better game.
They're not taking helmets out of football.
I know that. They're not doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying the game would be better. The hits would be the same, if not even better. The action would be good. There'll be less penalties, less injuries. Watch a rugby game. Watch how they tackle.
Somebody can make the pillow look cool.
I agree.
They're
100%.
already cool.
If somebody wants to play that way, they can go play rugby.
But you don't get paid like you do to play rugby.
Well, maybe we should keep the helmets in.
You do overseas. Rugby in Australia and New Zealand is just like soccer everywhere else. It's extremely popular. Those guys are the top athletes in the country. That's like the sport, but it's not like that here. Football's a sport. Football's top, hands down, best sport in America right now.
That's why we need to play with pillows on their heads so my best fantasy players don't get hurt with concussions. And keep playing and throw 4 picks and 2 fumbles.
I'm for it too, but if you watch Hard Knocks, I believe we talked about this on the show before, it only reduces the concussion percentage by 10%. 10%.
That's amazing.
On the grand scheme of things is great. And we're not talking about 10% of total concussions. It's 10% of you getting a concussion. I could be wrong. But if you're thinking like, okay, I have a 100% chance of getting a concussion, but I'm going to put this thing on, now I only have a 90% chance.
That's great.
That's not great.
That's
a terrible odd to have.
Get rid of the helmets.
If you're talking about 10%
of fields.
Now I agree with that. Hell with turf fields. They should play on grass. They're rich enough to have perfectly grown grass and groomed, soft playing surface. That's what it should have. Give to it. I don't care what anybody says. I'm with Odell Beckham on this one. But I don't think in the game of football, there's no way that you're going to limit concussions. I don't care what technology you have. The only way you're going to limit them. You can't even reduce them without changing the rules so drastically that people aren't going to watch the game.
Well, you can't change the rules.
It ain't going to happen.
They've changed the rules.
It's always
players are going to play their way because that's how they got there. Like Derwin James, hard-hitting safety.
Yep.
He's not going to just stop lowering his head and blowing people up because he got paid because that's what he does.
I agree with that.
You got to change the tools they use.
Anyway,
Yep.
it's
on
been
your
a
employer to make your place
Where's
of work
OSHA?
safer.
Where the hell is
needs to
OSHA
step
out?
in here. Come on, OSHA. You're everywhere else. Be in the NFL. Damn. Dave, you have OSHA come to your
I want
place?
a work safety audit on their ass. Send them to Daniel Snyder. Get his ass out of there.
Good old Manders. Sally Manders. How many post players deal with active CTE currently living? Guesstimate.
Oh, a lot.
I would say
is that diagnosable before
that I
deceased?
don't know.
Antonio Brown. Diagnosed by me. He's got it.
David Hayes, MD.
Oh.
CTE. I think that percentage is probably going to be greater than 50%. Hands down.
Who did Vontez Burfict? No, that was Antonio Brown. Yeah. No, he's got it.
That's a good question.
What?
UFC going to wear pillows on their heads when they're fighting?
No.
In some states, in boxing matches, you have to wear headgear. Yeah. I think that qualifies as a pillow.
The difference is that UFC fighter doesn't have to fight again 4 days later.
It's very true. And they have immediate
6 months
medical
before
help.
his next pay-per-view.
Sometimes it's over a year. So it's not repeated. They do spar, but they also wear protection when they spar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pillows.
Anyway, I think today's show has been very
Random.
everywhere. And that's just the way I like it. It's conversational. I think there's a lot of conversation going on. We had, at one point, like 30 people watching us. So shout out to everybody watching us.
We appreciate you.
We definitely appreciate it. The fact is, we wouldn't be able to do and have these conversations. I don't know. 80% of studied player were found to have some. That's greater than 50. I was right.
It's insane.
That's stupid. I bet if I died today and you investigated my brain, I'd have CTE of some sort. I grew up with Justin and Josh Spencer. We hit each other with things all the time. All the time. Quick plug, Etsy store. Go buy yourself some merch. If you're a fantasy football champion, buy you a shirt, a mug, or a yard sign. If you suck at fantasy football, I may go on there and buy a I suck at fantasy football t-shirt tomorrow. Comes in all different shirts or sizes and colors. Help support the channel if you haven't done so already. We appreciate it. Tune in next week as we kind of wrap up the fantasy football season and dive our little duck feet into new topics, ranging from a number of different things. Nobody answered the question what topics you'd like to hear us discuss in the future, so we're going to make that up on our own, and you're going to like it. So with that being said, we're going to end the stream today by saying we love you. Have a happy and safe new year. Hope you had a happy Christmas or a Merry Christmas or whatever you celebrate. That'd be great. But good night to all. Have a good one.